All right, it's time for video 3 in the white truck build. And this video, as I've been doing a little bit of just checking and pre-planning here for the next step, I might want to call it 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So as I line up the hood here, the way the girders are set up, when I have the hood sitting on here without the front bumper in place, I can just get the holes in to the holes here, but the front bumper needs to pull things together almost 1/8 of an inch now to be able to let everything line up. So if I put the front bumper back in place and then I put the hood on, the grill is hitting on the bottom of the grill against the frame rails the way I have them here. And when you're doing the C channel, because of the way that bumper mounts, what you normally do is you would take the C channel and the bumper still mounts on the inside. So when I put that bumper on the inside, I can spread the C channel apart, and because I have slots in here, I can still get one of the 832 screws through. With this, that part doesn't matter, but as it pulls those frame rails together, it brings them so tight that I'm not going to be able to get the screws through here like I need to. Plus, I'd have the issue of things hitting here. I would need to be able to pinch the hood in. And this has a little flexibility at the back of the hood, so the 2 back screws I could get in. But the way that mounts with the hood being in place here, and then the fenders are actually designed to mount on top. So as you read the instructions for this, what the instructions tell you to do is to mount the fenders on loosely, and there's 2 bolts that go through and down through the frame rails, and then you're supposed to pinch the hood a little bit and slip it in underneath the edge of the fender. So the fender wants to be able to mount on top. And that's going to be, that would be impossible to squeeze it in that much here in the front without totally messing up the grill. So a couple options I'm looking at. One is that when I take that front bumper off, I can put the screws through. They'll be a little bit tight, but they will go through. And then the way the front bumper mounts now, it's not wide enough. So I don't want to try to squeeze this back together. Once the hood's in place with the fenders, that's not going to force back on the way it does right now. In a couple of the other builds that I've done, I've actually put a spacer between the bumper and the inside of the frame rail. And I believe in the directions it actually says to put 3 of the washers in there as spacers on each side. I usually use a nut, and one of the nuts, especially one of the larger size machine nuts, that is about the thickness of 3 of the washers. So one option is to mount it like this, and then I think if I take this out to the garage and I build up a little jig that I can use in my press, I can go ahead and put this in and make a piece that'll wrap over top here, press it down, and I can spread this a little bit. So there is some raised ridges right here. If I flip it over, there's raised ridges on both sides here. If I hammer those back flat, that actually should shrink the metal more, which would mean that it would pull this in and make it even tighter. So I can't go that route. So I think I would have to make something to go in the press and to press this in. I did take this out to the garage and I tried just putting a bolt in here and a nut on one side, and then I tried backing the bolt up and trying to get enough pressure. There's enough of an angle on the sides here that it wanted to force the bolt back out, so I tried clamping it in place, and that did not seem like it was going to give me enough force to spread it apart. So, you know, in the 20-ton press, I know that I can spread it. One of the things that I'm trying to do with this group of parts, as I've said, you know, I'm trying to use just the original parts and keep it original. And if this was just a total custom build, then parts is parts and modifying is modifying. I don't care about that. So I would just go ahead and spread this out. No questions asked, not even think about it. Normally in those, I'm either painting or I'd be replating anyway. So that I wouldn't really be worried about. So what I'm going to try before I get to modifying a part is I am going to move the front axle back one screw hole on each side, and then everything at the front here is going to have to get moved one back. So that's where I'm at, 2 steps backwards. So I took the nuts off of the base plate there, and what I have to do is remove the front axle. I have to take this front frame section apart, and these 3 screws on each side need to get moved back one hole. The little bit of a pain in doing that is, if you remember the way I have these top pieces and bottom pieces set up, is I've got the bolt going through, I've got a nut at the top holding the top piece solid, I've got another nut inside and a nut on the bottom. So those nuts are all going to have to come off to move everything back. But by doing that, it will allow me to mount the hood one spot further back. And I think what that's going to do is give me just the little bit more space that I need to be able to get the bolts to go through the hood properly, through the fenders. And I like keeping this front slot lined up directly over top of the axle. And as I do that, the way this lets things line up, then I'll throw a front tire on here real quick. So that's where that hood would want to mount. So it does give a decent spacing here. Now, remember, this hood had an extra hole drilled in it. So if I move to that front hole, I actually like the way that looks better. And on the next custom build that I do, I'm actually going to move it forward like that. It just hugs to the tire a little better. And I might even mount the front end different so that the tire comes up closer underneath here, underneath the fender, just to give it, a little cooler look. So, so that would be more of a custom approach, but I'm going to keep it in the actual mounting holes. So that's going to be the next step that I have to take. So for video number 3, it's going to be a shorty here. I just wanted to explain that situation, and I'm not planning on recording me taking the front end all apart here and just moving screws back. one place. That's just more watching me with my big fingers dropping nuts and bolts. So I will go ahead, spend some time, get that moved back, get the base plate put back in place, and then I'll come back for video 4, and that'll actually show mounting the hood in place. I think then, without having to do any modification to the front bumper, I'll be able to get the front bumper back on, and that will allow for the parts to work out without having to do any modification to any of the parts. So, I do want to build this in such a way that I'll pack the parts into an original box that are left over as spares. And as I said, I might end up taking a few parts out of this set. I have figured out that this set is missing a couple just little pieces, and only a couple. So I may just pack this away and put a note in there. These are the parts that have been taken out of the set. It's this truck, and then if at any point in the future I decide to get rid of this, or I get hit by a bus and somebody else decides to get rid of it for me, there'll at least be some information about this truck goes with this box and these parts, and that would allow somebody to get it back to close to a full set. And the only reason I'm thinking that at this point, I wasn't originally thinking that, but as I've looked at these original parts, this stuff is in really nice condition compared to a lot of the original sets that you see. And I don't believe this set, nobody's ever done like a restoration on it or anything like that. It doesn't appear that the parts were ever cleaned up. I don't see any marking on any of the pieces that, they were, cleaned up with any type of steel wool product or SOS pad or anything like that. So I think it's a really nice condition, not perfect, but a really nice condition original set. So, I do not mind using parts that I buy, and the next white truck build that I'm going to do is going to be a pretty intense custom build. And for the most part, I've collected spare parts for that build. So I've got a hood, I've got fenders, I've got axles, I've got all of the 18 wheels and tires that I'm going to need. So that's going to be a different style build, and on that I will be doing some modification. But for this, that's enough of me talking right now. I'll get busy. I'll get these things changed around so that I can move on with episode 4 and continue on with the process of actually building the truck. So thanks for watching episode 3.